Started. Up. We're live. Well, hello, everyone, to whoever, wherever you're watching from. My name is KJ Whitehead, coming to you from Chicago, Illinois, on behalf of We Are Trans. Thank you so much for having me once again, Sammy James. It's always a pleasure from when I can come back, and I'm happy to be back to talk with a dear friend, Dina Nina. How you doing
Hi,
today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a little while since we've last spoken.
Yeah, it has been. Your eye makeup is on fleek today, and that's probably like antiquated language now, but you look amazing.
My eye makeup, yes. I'm looking at other stuff, and I'm not too proud. You know what? Yep, I
Oh,
see it. Let me back up. All right,
it happens. It happens.
I'm gonna
I
have to do this whole thing over again.
I have this thing with my liner, especially liquid liner, getting way up on top of my hooded eyelid, and I was looking at some pictures of Adele, and she had like this black mark on the top of her lid on the hood, and I was like, "Oh my god! If a celebrity has this happen, I think I'm okay."
I don't know what I'm doing with. I thought I knew what I was doing with foundation. Yesterday my makeup was amazing. Today my makeup is like I don't know what happened. I was still asleep when I put it on.
Fair. I think you look lovely. It's so nice
I
to see you.
You are being incredibly nice, and I appreciate that. It has indeed been a while. I just before I have some things lined up that I'd like to speak on, but it's just I want to say this: the greatest memory I have of you. First of all, you've been doing this for a while, and that's something I can always admire, and I always say that I can learn from you. For those who don't know, Dina Nina is a comedian, actor, and a director, storyteller, all of those things, and has been doing it for a while. You have your IMDb. James Corden referred to you as funny.
Yes.
And that's something that like I wish happened more often with
Yeah.
more people on television for me. But
Agreed.
the earliest memory I have of you is when you were hosting and producing an open mic slash showcase called just sticking around
Yep.
here in Chicago at the Hydrate
Hmm.
Club in Boys Town.
Yeah.
And I recall that I had just turned 25, and I got on stage and I talked about getting older, which no one cared for. And in fact, when I got off stage, you said, KJ, I have panties older than you. Shut
Yeah.
up.
Yes, I did. That is that is honest to God's truth.
Yeah, it was very well deserved. I should not have been talking. And here I am panicking again, about to turn 30.
Oh,
And and wondering which way is up. And then I
it only
remember,
gets better.
I hope you're right. My goodness, I'm at the age where I can where I'm starting to hate millennials now.
Yeah.
So, but
You're gonna
yeah,
scream, "Get out of my yard," and throw a beer can at someone any day now.
I mean, in this day and age with technology, get out of my stream yard.
Yes. Hilarious.
But
Yeah.
and so that's how I remember you. One of the things I do want to talk about is that you made the move from Chicago, Illinois to Madison, Wisconsin to start Lady Labs. And as someone who also like haven't done this for 8 years now, I too would like to move eventually, especially I was born and raised in Chicago, would like to leave. Um, how about talking about that move of what it
I
was like to start in a different city?
So the big move was originally from LA to Madison. Um, I did that pretty. So I've been doing this for about 15 years, and I think I did the move within 4 years of starting. So luckily, I'd had some really great experiences, very formative, very, I was able to find my voice in Los Angeles. And then I moved to the middle of nowhere. And I was like, I was scared, and then what do you do, like, for comedy? And I guess I just found my legs and my own way. And then I kind of hop around. I have a tendency to hop around. Like, I lived in Milwaukee for a little while. I lived in Chicago, and because of my business, because of Lady Loves Comedy, it kind of pulled me back to Madison, because that's I had a festival coming up, and everybody was like, "Can you meet? Can you come here?" And that was before we were using like visual technology so much, like before Zoom was really a thing. So I was like, I have to go back and make sure that this is going to be successful, and it became what it is, which is production. It's teaching stand up. It's teaching acting, and I love it. So I miss the city. I miss the city. I love Madison, but it's definitely small, and I am a big personality and a very big lady, which the Midwest is great for.
That
So, yeah, like, I totally miss Chicago. I feel like Chicago's where I kinda left a piece of my heart, But I come down, I mean, it's 2.5 hours away. It's not like LA, so I come down as much as I can. And
I mean,
but
you
yeah,
also left a whole bunch of potholes. I should say
I
that.
did that. That was my fault.
And even with a new mayor, that never changed. People were trying. It's like
Oh.
we got progress, some kinda, but
Yeah, I was driving on Irving Park, and I was like, I think my car just died in this pothole. Like, I think I may be stuck here. It is shocking how many potholes are in Chicago. Like, I mean, I get it, but also, like, holy cow.
yeah, and it's still. Of course, I don't know too much because I don't have a car, and some would say that's a blessing.
Yes, for sure.
So you mentioned the festival, and of course, I know you also have a showcase at Extra AF
Hmm.
as well. That the time when I went there was held at Crucible
Yeah,
in Madison, which is it was just a really big space.
it's a huge space, and it's probably been the easiest venue to work with, and the most not I'm not saying the most supportive, but they've been wonderful. And the audiences tend to, when they come there for the comedy, and they're there for it. I love that space. I love that venue. It's a great place to perform, and a great place to produce.
And I also, since you brought up, you just mentioned festival, I can only think of the International Lady Laughs Comedy Festival. Um, this might be a bit much to ask, given everything we've experienced for the last 2 years, and I might be out of the loop, so forgive me, but will we see another festival, or is that still, are we still thinking about it?
We are still thinking about it. I'm kind of taking a break from producing as much. It's just been a lot of work, and with the way that this pandemic has impacted live events, I haven't been able to find a good stride. So, yeah, we'll be back in some iteration, but for the time being, I'm just kind of gonna recuperate and gather my energies, and you know. So yes, but I don't know when right now.
Understood. But I mean, in the midst of recuperation, just trying to get back and um, building yourself back up, how's that part been going? Just um,
It's really up and down. I mean, I think we all have this, like, so June and July were incredible. Like, we had so many people coming out to Extra AF, and we're really supporting, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, we're in front of people again." Like, it was so exciting. And then Delta variant came around, and um we got scared and didn't come out to events as much throughout the rest. And plus, everybody, there were so many events that, like, how do you compete, you know? So I don't know what live events look like going forward for me personally. Um and I'm okay with trying to sit with the way things are and moving forward when ready, and when it feels right again, when it feels okay. That sounded very woo woo and airy fairy.
I want you to be I want you to be able to feel free to say whatever you feel you
Yeah.
have to say, and I wanted to start with that before um, I got to another thing that came up, and we can also skip it if you don't want to talk about it, and of course we can talk about anything else. Mr. Chappelle's
Oh,
special. Do we want
yeah.
to talk about the special, or in fact, how people have been, uh, the reactions we've seemed to be getting from mostly cisgender people, whether they loved the special or they hated it? What are your immediate thoughts?
It was super disappointing. Like, I had an expectation of that from him before. So, but cis men tend not to be my favorite comedians to watch anyway. Um, and mostly because I feel like they take the easy road of bashing on women, bashing on queer people. So, I oh, man, like, I just want him to be better. I want to be better. Like, I mean, we all struggle with that, I think. Like, my reactions to things tend to be, like, we react in the moment, and I have a lot of compassion and understanding for the fact that things change so quickly. But I think that when we, as comics, as performers, as people with platforms, talk and speak about other people, we need to speak about them in ways that are not further marginalizing. And I don't feel like for anyone, like, everybody should feel like we're valid and human beings. And I think that as a society, we've lost the fact that we've lost the sense of compassion and understanding that we're all part of this world. And I think that that's a bigger thing across the country. And man, it just hurts my heart. Like, I feel so. A couple months ago, Louis C.K. got booked in Madison, and on days that the club was closed, and it made me angry, and it brought up trauma that I didn't know I had. So I'm sitting here with the bad behavior of cis men, recognizing my past bad behavior, as a human being, as somebody who was socialized male for a big portion of my life. I didn't react in ways that were beneficial to everybody. But I think if we learn and know better, we want to do better. And if you don't want to do better, then you're indulging your sense of privilege and pride. And I just feel like I can give you a myriad of, I can give you multiple chances if you are willing to learn and you're willing to acknowledge your bad behavior, or willing to acknowledge that you have deficiencies learning or knowing certain things in areas. But when you are obstinate and indulging your privilege, cis privilege, white privilege, whatever privilege, male privilege, when you're indulging that, then my responsibility is to do what I can to hold you accountable. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
And it just breaks my heart. And I'm really like, and the way Netflix has reacted has been abhorrent, and I think it's gross. But when we as a country continually sweep our dark parts under the rug, our dirty laundry under the rug, there's a point where you're going to have to pull that rug up and look at that mess and face it. And if you're not willing to face it, then there's a much bigger problem. And I think we're in a time where we have to face the the bad things we have continually done and have continually accepted. And if we don't face it, then we're going to face the consequences. And that's across the board. That's all of us as people.
You know, that is a similar argument I have heard. Someone who's defending Dave Chappelle,
Hmm.
that is a similar argument that I've heard, that he was doing that, lifting that rug and showing what was underneath and all that. But I think at the same time, and feel free to jump in on this, I feel that he was also being very selective about it.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And I think therein lies a problem where, in being selective, we're able to, I feel, kind of people who probably saw that already had their hangups about transgender people, and they're like, oh, you know what? I like this, and you know what? Yeah, I could be nice, and then I could still think this way as well. It doesn't make me transphobic, and that I feel that's a lot of what's been happening as well. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm on board with you. I understand where it comes from. I understand the need to pick on somebody. Like, I get it. Like, I've done it. I don't like it. I don't like that I've done things like that, but I've done it, like we all do that. But we have to take responsibility, and we have to realize that when we say things on a platform getting paid millions and millions of dollars to talk about something, our words impact everyone within earshot.
Mhm.
Like, and further beyond that, when we talk, when we verbally talk shit about people, which I guess verbally and talking are the same thing, right? But when we talk negatively about any people group, there are going to be people who are like, yeah, let's lynch them, let's kill them, let's do whatever. And as people who have experienced literally lynching, literal murder of our family, our friends, your words are irresponsible and dangerous. And the more you mock and and gang up on, the more people are going to die because of ignorance and hatred. When I am I'm your sister, I'm your mother, I'm your your cousin, your friend, your coworker. Like, I mean, we are all just humans trying to get through. We're just trying to get through, and I mean, when we have to stand in a place and yell, "I am a human," and that is met with violence and assault and, you know, degradation, there is a problem. And I don't like I the last few open mics I've been to, there were cis men who were talking about things that were very close to sexual assault, like, very implied, not explicit, but implied. And I'm like, why are other cis men not holding each other accountable? You know, why are they not holding each other accountable? Also, like, why am I not holding people who advocate for sexual violence against TERFs? Why am I not holding them accountable for the way they're talking about people who don't understand us and are hating us when they're doing the exact same thing? Like, it's and it's so hard because, like, I just want us to realize that we're all valuable and we all have things to say and we all have perspectives that the world needs, that comes from, like, a very, like, privileged place. I want that. The reality is that we still have to talk about this constantly. We still have to talk about these things constantly. We shouldn't have to talk about these things anymore. Like, why can't we just value each other? Like,
I think one thing that comes up is the fact that, in response to that, and also leading to my next point, is that a lot of folks said that trans jokes about trans people, such as what we've seen Dave Chappelle tell, um, aren't meant. The comedian self, Dave Chappelle in particular, let's use him as an example, is not trying to be malicious with what he's saying. However, I think it's irresponsible to um, believe of person defending Chappelle to believe that there aren't people who would take something that isn't malicious and use it maliciously. I think that is very possible too. With that said, in means of maybe the maybe a part of this that though ignorant, I can't help but see some humor in it when it comes to cishet men talking about how jokes about cishet men on stage make them feel uncomfortable, or and it makes it feel like they can't say anything anymore. That this is what it is. As a man, I don't feel respected, and it's mostly comics who've been white male comics who have been doing this for uh, the stressful existence a long time of 5 months versus my 8 years. And you're 15. My question is, what do you have to say to those comics who want to make that argument?
um you don't get respect by being white cis het male. Like, you don't get respect by just existing. You get respect by respecting others, by taking up for others, by not bullying, by saying, "Hey, this is where I have a problem with the language that you're using." That's how you get respect. When you are respectable, you get respect. I look, I've been doing this for a long time. Am I exhausted from being an an um an activist within this space? Absolutely. I'm exhausted. But I will tell you that when you spend 20 to 30 minutes of your time in a special talking about a marginalized group of people, when you are getting millions and millions of dollars, and those people are struggling just to make a living, who are, doing things that put them in harm to make money, that are uh face harm by just walking into the world. When you spend 20 minutes of your $1 million special that you got paid for, that is irresponsible and disrespectable. So so that is like, if you want to be respected, then you be respectable. You show up for other people. I don't care who you are. If you're going to show up for me, if you're going to show up for the people that are on the sidelines and who have been constantly put at risk of bodily harm on a daily basis, when you are taking up for those people, then I will respect you.
All right.
I,
I
I
hear that.
I hear so many comics all the time. People have been doing it for years, and I respect them so much. But when they say comedy is inherently offensive, it is it is like saying I'm just brutally honest. You are not just being brutally honest. You are using that as an excuse to be an asshole. Um, And I understand that some people are not going to get it. People aren't going to understand, and cis white het people are going to get offended by things sometimes. You know, uh, so while they're running around calling us snowflakes, I feel like they are the worst perpetrators of one harm, but also snowflakery. So, and I love, like, I fuck cis het guys. Pardon my language. You know what I mean? Like, I am not opposed to getting naked and having, I
um,
but I also
no, it's
sorry, that was like
no, it's fine. You can say whatever you like. It's me who, if I feel like I might get in trouble if I start saying some same stuff. But you've
like
seen me
I
perform
just
before.
yes,
So.
I have, and I love it. I when I just always say, if you're not one of us, don't talk about us. Unless it's to amplify and esteem us. That's that when I have comedy classes, I say that. Like, I'm like, look, if you're not one of us, don't talk about us. If you're not marginalized in any ways, it's better just to avoid the topic entirely. Because when you have a public platform, when you have a microphone, you have a responsibility to not put people at harm. And even if you're in the smallest bar in the smallest, part of Chicago, saying these things, somebody's going to hear those and take that as a reason to perpetrate harm on people, and it's just unacceptable, and it makes me angry.
And I I want to hear this conversation on what it means to be a comedian, also a comedian that just so happens to be transgender, and what that leads me to is Flame Monroe.
Hmm.
Now, she has been, and personally, what I have been seeing is that among all the controversy dealing with Chappelle's special, she has been the one, not one of two or three, four, what have you, but the one transgender comedian that people have reached out to.
Hmm.
And she says, one of the things she says is that she has three dogs in this race, being black, being transgender, and being a comedian. And she has to be fair to all three. And I believe there can be a balance. when it comes to the means of being, whether you just so happen to be BIPOC and then transgender and then also comedian. But often I see that I'm seeing way too often that people are holding on to this means of a comedian. All of a sudden, everyone's a comedian, and that so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this is not only the one person that people have reached out to, but uh, she's she's come on defense of Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
So she believes as a comedian, you should be able to talk about whatever you would like, but it seems that you have a different viewpoint on it. What would you have to say about that viewpoint? Being a comedian, being able to talk about it wherever you would like to talk about.
Mm. I mean, yes, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but I don't find it respectable and responsible. I don't like I'm white, I'm trans, but I have a lot of cis privilege. Like I'm so fortunate to be able to move through the world, so I understand that my perspective is quite different than a lot of us. But what I want to do as a human being is to stand in that space of being a comic, being as responsible. I would rather cut down on myself than cut down on other people unless they are, you know, uh, financially privileged, white privilege, cis privilege, like when they have like all the privileges, when they have like the genetic lottery and they use that genetic lottery as a means by which to oppress people further, then you are open game, right? Like when you have a lot of money and you are cutting down on people that are struggling every day to just get by, then there's a problem there. That is not respectable. When you are cisgender and you are getting on stage and you are talking about people who are not cisgender who struggle every day to survive, knowing that trans people are the most, like, we are the most vulnerable people group, because we tend to be, lower, the lowest of the income brackets, the most vulnerable. It's hard for us to, most of us have our family members shun us and turn their backs on us. We get fired from jobs because we're trans. We find it difficult to move through public accommodations without discrimination and verbal assault and physical assault. We often have very difficult relationships with power, primarily the police and politicians. Being a bully shouldn't be freedom of speech. You know what I mean? Like you can't say I'm just telling what I think and it's covered. Like you can do that, but it's shitty. And if people got as outraged about bullies as they get about politics, then there would be a change in the world. When you look at people who have the shittiest time within our societal structures, and you just exacerbate and talk about them and bully them and disrespect them and advocate violence or advocate or say that you're with the trans exclusionary radical feminists, like then I I have a problem. When you say that you are gender critical, then and you're offended by us calling you turfs, which is, like there is a problem. You are belittling, you are disrespecting, you are treating us badly, and when you get treated badly back and you get pissed off about it, like, come on, it's a taste of your own damn medicine.
Uh,
But I don't advocate for that. What I advocate for is treating all people like we're human beings and being responsible when we talk about them, and taking up for the people that are most marginalized and most vulnerable, because otherwise you're just a jackass who's a bully, and that is not okay.
I have to interject before anything else. Gender
Mhm.
critical is not a term that I have heard
Yeah.
before. That's what we're just.
That's what I think. So I got into a battle with I and this whole like movement to block kids from having, protected spaces of restrooms and being involved in sports and all that stuff is disgusting, because you are human beings who, most of them say that they're pro-life and are advocating that children be bullied and marginalized, which leads to um, uh, violence against those people. It does. It's so I was having this argument with somebody on Twitter, because that's where that's what social media is for, right? And they're like, "We don't appreciate this," and I'm like, "I will call you whatever you want to call, as long as you have enough respect for me to call me what I want to be called." You know what I mean? Respect is a two-way street. If I don't give you respect and understand that you have a viewpoint, whether I find it very problematic or wrong or disrespectable, as long as you give me the same respect and we talk it out and be human and human about it, then I don't have a problem with you as much as if you are out there actively targeting children and people who are marginalized. And my words for you in that case are, you can fuck right off,
I I
with
hear
love
that
and light.
with.
I just don't understand how we can't respect each other as human beings. Like, it's so shocking to me,
It's
because growing up in the family that I grew up, we were taught to respect people and love people and treat them like they were, everybody was valid. But then the actual implementation of that in both societal and further down the line in family is problematic, because it's contrary. Our actions need to match our words, and our words need to be respectful. And I try to be respectful to everyone, as long as I'm getting respect back.
I hear a lot of what you said is I think it seems like folks who, regardless of where they stand on certain issues, that is a common thing that it's starting to become more common now. It wasn't like, say, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, like, at least from my perspective, I hear that and I'm like, you know what? I can still appreciate and respect that.
And
Yeah.
I fully acknowledge that this comes from a place of white privilege. It comes from a place of cis privilege. I understand that my privilege is here, but what I want to do is be able to, like, it's in the room. I get it. I understand it, and I've had a lot of shame around that. Being able to move through society without a question is definitely a privilege, and I can go into a restroom in Texas and I don't feel scared, but I also feel sometimes like it breaks my heart that that is a thing, and it pisses me off. Like, when we all of us, when we go to the restroom, we just want to freaking use the restroom, like, and and there are stalls usually, like there is nobody trying to. And if anybody understands what toxic masculinity is, there's not a cis male who's going to try to dress up like a woman to you know do for any reason because they find it demeaning, you know? Like that doesn't happen.
Well, here's just think about the children. What about the children when you go to the bathrooms? Look, and when I'm going to the bathroom, I don't see anyone. I'm trying to poop. I'm looking for the clear path to the stall.
And I'm concerned about my safety, not anybody else. Like I'm concerned about going in, not having any problems, using the facilities, washing my hands and getting out of that
Uh-huh.
room so that nobody makes a big fuss about it.
And it's important that you mention, but not only that you're talking about your safety, but you also we need to encourage people to wash their hands, especially now. The pandemic is not enough, apparently. It's not enough. That's I used the men's restroom up to when I was 25. That's one thing that just no one was doing. But
Yeah.
I,
It's so
t-
gross.
yeah, well, it's gross, and also I'm going off topic.
Yeah.
But
So
sorry, go
so
ahead.
I think what I'm here to say is like I understand my privilege and I hope to wield that privilege in a way that benefits all of us versus further marginalizes us. And as a comic, I am a whole person. I am a human being with layers and depth, and I am not always funny. I am also like smart and intelligent, and I come up for with a conversation, and I will have a hard conversation with people. You know, like I'm not I don't love it, but like I will show up for a hard conversation with you, and we may never agree on anything, but what I expect from any hard conversation I have is that you respect me enough to listen, and that I will respect you enough to listen to.
I
And
hear
I
you
just
on that.
don't think we we can get outside of ourselves right now. And if anything the previous 4 years have taught us is that when you feed into bigotry and hatred, you're going to only increase um, violence against the people who are most marginalized, and it's unacceptable and disgusting. And I hope we never go back to it. You know, like I don't I I don't understand how we can dehumanize people so much that we can not think that our words matter. Like we were taught that words matter in school, right?
Right.
Right? So as adults, we teach our children, uh, adults who procreate, um, teach their children, you know, to respect each other and don't say that in public, and or you know, don't say that to your sister or your brother. We have to get outside of ourselves and realize that all of us have feelings, all of us are valid. And how do we foster respect and intelligent conversation for each other? And I think when we and now I'm going to get really woo woo. Like we are all connected. Like when you look at the quantum level, and I love pseudoscience, so we're going to get like pseudosciency. But like when you hurt, I hurt. Like when I cause pain on somebody, I'm only inflicting it on myself. When I'm taking rights away from somebody, I am eventually taking rights away from myself. When I'm looking out for only myself, I am separating myself, and I will be a victim of the kind of behavior that I perpetrated. And I believe that because I've seen it. When we can look at those early lessons that we're taught and be like, you know, respect each other, love each other, you know, and put aside these stupid petty things and just be like, oh God, it doesn't like my right to exist and be in a space and do what I want with my body has nothing, it does not affect anybody else except for me. and it made me a happier person. It made me somebody who is able to function in the world, where before I couldn't. I couldn't. I couldn't give to the people around me the way that I needed to, because I was not whole. There was something missing, something that was broken. And most trans people, when we find out who we are and are able to move towards being the embodiment of who we are, become better people in the space that we're living. We are far more functional when we're able to be who we are. We become better employees if we work for somebody, you know. We give back. And when you stifle people, all you're doing is, and when you're telling people they can't be who they are, all you're doing is keeping an incredibly valuable part of what could be in your life from existing.
I think one thing that should be that seems like it's clear to me, but if not to anyone else viewing, um, that this isn't just about comedy and
Mhm.
what you can say on stage or what you can't say on stage. It speaks to something like a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
That everyone can get on, everyone is connected with, and it's just now I think this bigger issue is just in the lens, just connected to comedy. People, that's, I think basically what I'm saying is I think people are still failing to see the big picture here.
Mhm.
When you're focused on one thing in particular, everything else becomes blurry. And
Yeah.
I think
Because I'm
that's
more
what we're
than a
seeing here.
comic. Like, I'm more than a comic. I'm more than what I do for a living. And any other human being is more than what they do for a living.
Right.
It You can't boil it down and say that you can say whatever you want in comedy, but when you go, like, it's part of our expression as humans, like, everything that we really cannot separate the comedian Dina from the woo woo Dina, from from the person Dina who walks through the door at your Chipotle, like there is, like, all of it is who I am. All of it is who I am. I am trans. That's part of who I am. Is it all of me? It is not all of me. I'm a comic, it's part of who I am. Is it all of me? It is not all of me. You know, we are all so much more than one aspect of our lives. And when we are put in that box and you're like, you can't, oh, it's just,
Um, I,
yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. One thing I am mentioning for right now, we have been live nearly for 50 minutes. And if you, any viewer, have any questions, as we've been seeing down below, if you have any questions, feel free to drop that in the chat. We will get to it.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I do want to say that you said you are trans. That is a part of you,
Mhm.
and you are a comedian, that is a part of you, and neither one of these things are all of you. um, Two-parter, because this is one thing I've been wanting to ask. um, I've been wanting to ask for a while, so I'll ask that. But first, what I do want to ask is, so those parts of you aside, I think what's really important is that uh, people know who you are. What are other parts of you? Who are you? Because I just so happen to be who I am as well, but I'm also someone who loves video games, loves
Mhm.
flowers, I love cats, and I also love people watching. That
Yeah.
last one doesn't sound too good, but um,
Sometimes it's
I,
great though.
sometimes yes, I but I think what'll really help right now, what I would like is I and I'm gonna stop talking about me for a second. Who are you, Dina Nina?
Hmm. I'm a dog mom. I am an entrepreneur. I am um gosh, I my heart is I'm a human and I love people. Like, I mean, being separated from humans was has been so hard, and I just love people. I love being who I am in the world. I'm so grateful I was able to go through this journey. Like, it's not been easy, but I am so grateful that I am who I am because if I didn't go through transition, I couldn't have been the full spectrum of me. Like, I couldn't have shown up as, a goofy fun person. I was just and that's not I'm also depressed a lot, like w- we talk about like we're talking about mental health a lot more as a society, um but I don't think we really understand the greater aspect of that because I sometimes lay in the middle of the floor in my office bawling, like not wanting to exist. I'm a person who struggles with mental health. I'm also somebody who loves food, and I love walking in nature when it's not a million degrees, and like I love fall. Wisconsin is so weird and so pretty. The Midwest is really beautiful, and being able to experience a non-cityscape in seasons that change. Coming from Texas, you had 2 seasons, like fall and rainy. Like it was hot and rainy. That's what it was, hot and rainy, and it's kind of the same thing in California. So being in the Midwest, seeing that, like that gives me joy. Being watching this silly little dog who's 10 pounds slide between my legs because they have no friction on the hardwood floors, is it gives me joy. Being gender euphoria. What gives me gender euphoria? And that's like when I'm able to just be in a place and celebrated for who I am. Like I've been so fortunate to be on the cover of Madison magazine. Like when I moved to the middle of the country, I was like, I'm either gonna, like I could die or, like who knows what could happen. Like I moved from Los Angeles and big city to a small town, and I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but being celebrated for who I am and being loved for who I am, and um that gives me joy, that gives me euphoria, like, it's so nice to just be like, when I was in LA, I was a showgirl, and then I became a comedian, so people knew me as a showgirl, and I much prefer wearing a muumuu than high heels and a corset, like, so being able to express my femininity in a way that is, sincere and honest to me is gives me euphoria, like so I'm so much more than just I'm spiritual. I'm so woo-woo, Like I could talk about like the Gnostic gospels and the Sophia who is the mother of the universe like for hours, and I could talk about like ritual and the moon s- phases and astrology and tarot and like oracle cards. I could like that's like those things bring me joy, and yeah, and then I'm serious, and I I'm a speaker. I work with people who are cisgender who don't know about who we are and how to move through. Like I love doing that too. Like all of these things are who I am, and you can't say it in 10 words. You can say it in about 20 minutes, barely. Like
Right.
so yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like
No, you're fine. This is about you, so that's fun. Just Dina Nina Uh, trans, comedian, dog mom, someone who likes to see snow. That
I like to see snow,
you are on
but I
that
also
front.
get exhausted from
On
snow.
that front, you are alone. I
Right?
can't. I can't give you it. There's a reason. I would love to be somewhere where I could just be warm.
It, and I'm like, I'm fat and sweaty all the time. Like I sweat all the time. So winter is amazing for me. My friends hate winter, and I'm like, I love it. Like sometimes it lasts a little too long, you know?
Mhm.
But also like I'm like,
I mean, as someone whose birthday is in January,
oh, that's
yeah, I'm a
terrible.
little upset.
Yeah, I get it.
Um, I will. You know what? I will. That's why I will go to LA. I will try to find a way to go to LA.
Do it.
So I would really love for that to happen.
Mm.
Hmm. We are we are at 56 minutes. I believe we have some time left. Is there anything you would like to share that and I haven't touched on, or something that you feel like you haven't been able to say? I would love to hear it.
There is nothing that I can I mean, I can talk about myself for hours, but it's I'm a boring topic. So tell us about your podcast. I have a podcast that's called I Love Funny Women, and I was able to interview a bunch of women comedians, and it's been a fun ride. And I'm moving on to a new podcast soon, launching called Showing Up, and it's about how we are showing up in the world, how we show up differently than we did when we were younger, um, and then also tying in like the loved ones of my guests and seeing their perspective on how their loved one shows up. And I'm really kind of excited to delve into that a little bit more. So that'll be launching early 2022, and I'm really stoked about that. I'm really excited about that.
I'm happy to hear that. And also, viewers, I sincerely apologize. I had my chat switched to private chat the whole time, so I have not been able to. I'm now seeing a couple of things.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes, there is Dina Nina's information on a website right there, Instagram
Yep.
as well. We have your Twitter
That
also on there,
and it's
Dina,
also Dina Nina XO, so that is a older, and you can find
Dina Nina
all the
XL.
links at the dinanina.com/xoxo. That's my link tree. And
Yes,
dinanina.com.
this sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Dina Nina, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to all the viewers who have been able to join us. And I hope that you see another We Are Trans very, very soon.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you, Sammy James, for having me do this interview. This is the first interview I have ever done.
Really?
Yes, this is. There was that one time I applied for Jimmy John's, but they didn't require much. Um, I, you know what? I can't. There's some jobs I just cannot work anymore. Anyway, uh,
Amen.
with all of that said, thank you all so much. And no matter what kind of day that you're having right now, we only hope it's getting better.
Mm.
I've been KJ Whitehead from Chicago, Illinois. Have a good day.